Welcome. In this lesson, we'll create a router using Lit as the framework. Before starting, you should have knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. For the most part, the code will be in JavaScript, and the HTML rendering will be done with Lit. I'm using VS Code. I'm using Node version 20, and you can use it with the NVM or without. And if you've been following along with the web dev pathway, then all of these prerequisites are covered in previous videos. Okay, so here is an outline of the steps that we're going to take. So first of all, the project setup. Now we'll be using Vite, and it is quicker to use the quick setup as shown in a previous tutorial, but here we will just show everything from scratch. However, if you have any questions, you can go back and check out the other setup tutorials. So first of all, you want to create a folder with no spaces. Open the folder in VS Code. So my folder is empty except the to-do list, which we just showed previously. So press Ctrl and backtick to open the terminal, then type in npm init-y for the default setup. So that created the package.json file. Now we want to install our dependencies. First of all, type in npm ilit to install Lit. Now we will install our developer dependencies. So type in npm i-d for dev dependencies, and then Vite and Sass. And if you had any other dependencies, you just leave a space and add them on at the end. So now open the package.json file and you can see all the dependencies listed. Now replace the scripts object for the Vite bundler. Now delete the main property and add the type property set to module. And you can edit the author and description if you wish, then save and close. Now for our file structure, first of all create a new file called index.html. Type an exclamation mark and then press enter to get some boilerplate code. Edit the title and add a favicon, and add a div with an ID of root to the body for your HTML content to be injected into. And now add a directory and call it public. Inside the public folder, add a favicon. Make sure everything is saved, and now run npm run dev. Control-click on the link to open it in your browser, and you should see the title and favicon displayed. Now add a folder called src, short for source, and inside it create an index.js file and add a console log to check it works. Then add a script tag to your index.html. Save everything and check it is working. Now create an SCSS directory and add a background color to test, and see the video Add Sass to a Lit project with Vite if you are new to Sass. Then import the master Sass file into the index.js file. Save and you should see the background color change. Now create a pages directory and add 2 JavaScript files, one for the home page and one for the 404 error page. Then add a class for the homepage content. In the HTML function, you can add any JavaScript you like. Then create the 404 page using the same class format. Okay, to quickly test the home page is working, import the home page, and when the page is ready, call the init function. Save everything, and we can see it works fine. Now for the router. Create a router.js file in the source folder. Then import the page files, create a router class, and create this routes object inside the constructor. Inside the class, create a route function. In the first line, we are removing URL parameters, which may be used later. Then we are accessing our page class. If the page exists, we run the init page function. And if there is no page, we will show the 404 error page. To test it works, import the router into the index.js file, and then run the router with the homepage route. Test again with a route that doesn't exist, and we can see it is working fine. Now for the URL navigation. Inside the router class, add an init function. This will show the page that was requested by the browser URL. We add an event listener for any change in the URL address, and then running the route function. Now run the init function from the index.js file. Save everything and then type a subpage in the address bar to test. When you deploy, you will need to point all URL requests to the index.html file. and that has been discussed in deployment tutorials. Okay, let's create a function for some internal links. First, create another page. I added a contact page using the same format as the home page. Then I import it into the router and add it to the routes. Then in the router file, add a toLink function. This will show the page and update the URL when the user navigates from within our app. This function can be exported for navigation from inside functions. And now we want to export a function for when the user clicks an A tag link. First, we prevent the page from refreshing. Then we access the href address and run the toLink function. Now in both the home page and contact page, import the alink function. Then add some links with a click function. I added a broken link for testing purposes. Save everything and then test it in the browser. Notice that you can also use the back and forward navigation buttons in the browser. So notes and tips. Firstly, if the user has scrolled down a page, when they navigate to a new page, they may still be in that scrolled position. So you want to reset the scroll to the top. And now the advantages of having your own custom router is that you can make your own rules. You may want to add further functionality, right, like returning if the route is repeated, add any special authorization rules that you may have for your site, and adding functionality like page layouts as you like. So enjoy developing with Lit, and please share any tips you have in the comments, and thanks for watching.